get into the story that has obviously taken over the world of college football. That is the Michigan sign stealing allegations, Connor Stallions, all that good stuff. By now, you know the whole deal. It was kind of wild on Wednesday's Aaron Torres pod. We did this crazy thing and just previewed the game, Penn State, Michigan, top 10 matchup in Happy Valley. But obviously the thing that has kind of hovered over this story over the last couple weeks, and really over the last week specifically, is that the Big Ten could unilaterally kind of supersede the NCAA and punish Michigan immediately. The NCAA has a process, notice of allegations, takes 90 days. Michigan has 90 days to respond. And so the Big Ten has the authority based on its sportsmanship policies to basically do whatever they deem fit what's best for the league. That could be a suspension of Jim Harbaugh. That could be removing Michigan from postseason. And so that's been going on over the last couple of days. Michigan, the Big Ten and Michigan met. The Big Ten presented their side. And on Wednesday, Michigan had about 48 hours to kind of present a defense. And they did so in a big way on Wednesday night. Essentially, Michigan's arguments, not that surprising. One, they're arguing that sign stealing is very prevalent. One thing that we did not talk about on this show is the allegations that basically multiple schools worked with Purdue to help Michigan or to help Purdue basically get Michigan signs in the lead up to the Big Ten championship game. Now, I understand that's different than what Michigan did, sending people in person to scout these games. But that is what Michigan is arguing, is that basically there really isn't all that much difference. They're also arguing Jim Harbaugh didn't know. And they're also arguing beyond that, essentially what we've talked about a lot on this show. It's not that punishment shouldn't come. It's that to expedite the whole process, to speed it up without due process, without time, without whatever. It's just completely unfair. It doesn't make sense. And that is essentially what Michigan's argument is. Going to read you some specifics. Yahoo has been all over this. Dan Wetzel, Ross Dellinger have done a great job. I thought Dan Wetzel had a couple very interesting tweets about this. First off, Dan Wetzel, first of all, Michigan submitted a multi-page document to the Big Ten, and then Jim Harbaugh's attorney, Tom Mars, who we're going to talk about in a second, he submitted his own statement on behalf of Jim Harbaugh. Yahoo got access to both of them. One thought this was very interesting from Dan Wetzel. One, first of all, according to Michigan, he does not believe that even the NCAA. So remember, the NCAA, they started an investigation, and our understanding is they have turned over documentation to the Big Ten to kind of expedite the process. The NCAA says we're kind of handcuffed by our own legalese, so we're going to help you, Big Ten, to move this thing along. Well, according to Dan Wetzel, there really ain't all that much documentation that really proves much of anything. According to Michigan, the NCAA has not yet been able to provide significant evidence, and the Big Ten is relying on, quote, summaries and descriptions of evidence about the whole situation. Michigan argues that the Big Ten's evidence is so scant, it lacked any proof of almost any wrongdoing, even by Connor Stallions. I also thought this was kind of an interesting point from Jim Harbaugh's attorney, Tom Mars. This is interesting. This is also from a Dan Wetzel tweet, but it comes from Michigan, Jim Harbaugh's attorney, Tom Mars. He said, when other teams had been legally acquiring Michigan signals with 100% accuracy for at least 2 years by studying Michigan game films, there was no reason for Coach Harbaugh or anyone else to believe that Stallions had not acquired his information about the other team's signals by using the same methodology. So for people who don't follow that, it's a bunch of legalese. But I think this is an interesting point. If you are arguing that Jim Harbaugh had no idea that the sign stealing thing was going on, this is what Tom Mars's attorney is basically saying. He basically said, look, if all of these other teams could steal signs just off game film and it's accurate and it's whatever, and they know our signs, then why would Jim Harbaugh think that an assistant coach couldn't do the same at his school and that there was something beyond that going on? And so this is all the update. This is all that's going on. The Big Ten has time, is taking its time to process this, and we will see if they actually try to punish Michigan. Now, it is worth noting that Michigan has already essentially came out and said, we are going to use the full might of our legal force. I'm far from a lawyer, but it sounds like they will push for an injunction, which would allow Jim Harbaugh to coach if the team was if he was suspended for Saturday. So this is all an ongoing thing. But let me just say this. Thank you, everybody, for your support of the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube channel. And we have a major announcement as with legal sports betting coming to the state of Kentucky. By the way, college hoop season is here, so you know Kentucky is on fire. Well, guess what? Here is the announcement. The Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel has partnered with DraftKings Sportsbook and the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And here is the cool part. DraftKings has an incredible offer for first-time customers who are listeners of the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. Here is what you need to know about that offer. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. New customers can bet $5 on any game and get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the promo code Torres. That is right, Torres, Torres. It's that simple. Download the app. Bet $5 on any game. Could be pro, could be college, could be basketball, could be football. And you get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the code Torres. Thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook. Incredible offer. First-time customers, take advantage right now. Michigan's defense, while not perfect, it does, in my opinion, very much line up with a lot of what I've talked about. And frankly, a lot of why I have flipped my stance on this story, okay? And so for people who have followed, me personally, and I know I'm nobody, whatever, but I bring it up because when this first happened, I said, Michigan broke the rules, they should be punished. And I still stand by that. I have never changed my opinion. Like the last couple of weeks, people say, oh, Torres, who's paying you off at Michigan? It's like, nobody's paying me off. When this happened, I said, if they broke the rules, they should be punished. What has changed, though, is the way in which this case is playing out, and frankly, playing out in the public eye. When I said Michigan should be punished if they broke the rules, I assumed it would be under the same premise that every investigation has been done in the history of college sports. Come in, talk to people, do interviews, get, ancillary evidence. You present to Michigan. Michigan has time to defend themselves. You go through the process. What has frustrated me, what has disappointed me, is you now have the NCAA basically acknowledging our process doesn't work fast enough. And so we're handing over evidence to the Big Ten. You have schools turning stuff in. We all know that they obviously, look, I'm not saying that if there's film from a stadium or film from a here or film from a there that proves that Michigan, or not even Michigan, that Connor Stallions had scouts in the building, I get where a school would be frustrated, but you have 13 schools actively working against them. You have the Big Ten trying to collect all this information, do what's best for the league overall, all 14 schools. You have the NCAA now circumventing its own rules to help the Big Ten. And that's where my frustration has come in. Not that I think that Michigan shouldn't be punished if they broke rules, but the idea that we are completely changing the process. And then beyond that, this is the part that frustrates me, is that we're ready to do something to Michigan or Jim Harbaugh after completely circumventing the process without a single ounce of proof that Jim Harbaugh knew. Now, am I sitting here saying that Jim Harbaugh had no idea? I do not know. That is for the Big Ten to figure out. That's for the NCAA to figure out, whatever. What I do believe is if you don't have the proverbial smoking gun, if you don't have the definitive proof, if you don't have the text messages, the emails, the videos, the whatever, that Harbaugh was in on this plan, that this was a building-wide decision, then I'm sorry, I don't think you should suspend a head coach in the middle of the season. Don't think it's fair to the players. Don't think it's fair to the school. Don't think it's fair. I just don't think it's fair. And so again, if something comes out in the next day, week, month, and it's there, we have proof that Harbaugh knew, then yes, I'm going to flip again and say, yes, suspend him. But to suspend him with no proof at all that he knew anything about this is ridiculous. I would also say, and I know it's become a little bit of a meme on the internet, like every time we learn something about Connor Stallions, I don't know how to say this delicately in 2023. He's an interesting character, right? The latest report that we saw this week is that he was running a vacuum repair business out of his house. For people who missed this, Wall Street Journal kind of did a deep dive on him. And one thing they found out, he bought a house, and we find out that there's a bunch of just dirty vacuum cleaners on the front porch. And when that happens, the neighbors start to complain. HOA is called. He complains that HOA must be Michigan State alums because why are they bothering him? And he started running a vacuum repair service off of his front porch. By the way, the reviews on Amazon were not good, but that's neither here nor there. So I just bring it up. The guy is not very stable. The guy had a 500-page manifesto. And as time goes on, I do believe that he probably went rogue. He doesn't seem like the most stable person. First of all, I don't even know when he had time to sleep. He's got a manifesto. He's doing this, deciphering these sign stealing. He's running a vacuum repair service off of his porch. I don't even know when he had time to sleep. But to me, every piece of information we learn about him makes it more likely that, yeah, maybe he was doing this on the side. Maybe he was trying to rise up the ranks. And as Jim Harbaugh's lawyer, Tom Mars, said, if every team can steal stuff off tape, why would Jim Harbaugh have belief that this guy that whatever is sending people to other stadiums? So again, it's all going to play itself out. But I stand on the side that I have been on for the last week. If we get a smoking gun, if we get proof that Jim Harbaugh knew that he was actively circumventing the rules, then yeah, we should suspend him. We should. But if we don't, to rush the process so that you can look good to a bunch of ADs and a bunch of coaches that have been getting their butts kicked by Michigan the last couple of years, give me a break. Give me a break. So we'll see what happens. We don't know what the Big Ten is going to do, but I'm on Team Harbaugh. I'm on Team Michigan on this one. I just don't believe that we should completely rewrite the process of how we do things and suspend a coach in the middle of the season without proof. I truly believe that. By the way, I've said it for 2 weeks now. You want this all to end? Penn State? You want this all to end? Ohio State? Beat them on the field and it won't matter. We'll see if it happens this weekend. We'll see if it happens next week at Maryland. We'll see if it happens in 3 weeks against Ohio State. Best way to stop all this, beat Michigan. It won't matter.